expected the unexpected, and it was satisfied in the extreme.
It's almost impossible to get 10 people in a room and have them all agree. Try putting that number up to hundreds. Film crews can be massive and they often butt heads. Outside circumstances such as brutal weather stirred the pot. Even the best actors are known to be demanding and difficult to work with on certain projects. Sometimes the crew pushes through their demands and they make a hit. Other times they end up producing one of the worst films of all time. Keep watching to learn why Marlon Brando's co-stars hated him while filming The Island of Dr. Moreau. Initial promise. The Island of Dr. Moreau seemed like it could be a hit in the beginning stages. It could at least have been a unique entry into the sci-fi genre. Val Kilmer was set to be the lead. He had just been in recent successes such as 1993's Tombstone and 95's Batman Forever. That wasn't all. Marlon Brando was attached to the project as the titular mad scientist. He'd already achieved legendary status by then. The rest of the cast seemed like they had potential as well. David Thewlis and Fairuza Balk seemed like promising up-and-comers who could use the Island of Dr. Moreau as breakout roles. These names could help attract audiences for the strange and unique film, but it mattered most to one man. The movie was a passion project for director Richard Stanley. He was a major fan of the original novel. As Professor Daryl Dixon, editor of the official version of the book, said,
"What he is concerned about is the importance of being an ethical scientist." Wells himself described the Island of Dr. Moreau as a theological grotesque. So he clearly had other things in his mind beyond just the blood and gore and disgust of scientific experimentation. And I think he settles on or focuses on one of the most kind of disturbing but also wide-ranging and prevalent continued issues about in our anxiety about progress, which is this notion of playing God.
Richard dreamed of turning the book into a movie. He was even willing to go into debt to get a studio to listen to his wild idea. It took a lot of effort, which ended up not being worth it. Early signs of trouble. The first signs of trouble with the Island of Dr. Moreau happened before the film even began shooting. Bruce Willis was actually the first choice for the lead role. He backed out because of his divorce from Demi Moore. Val stepped in but agreed to only 60% of Bruce's contract. That meant he had to be recast from the large role of Edward Prendick to the small role of Mr. Montgomery, the titular doctor's assistant. This also cost them James Woods. One of the first of the project's many script changes also began early. Edward was changed from a sailor who washes ashore to a UN inspector. All of these cast and story changes were an early sign that the movie might not turn out the way they'd hoped. Plenty of production problems. One of the major hurdles to fight against was the weather. It made everyone cranky, exacerbating problems with the crew's poor behavior. A hurricane forced them to stop production. The crew began to feel as if the film were cursed. Richard and Val began arguing as soon as shooting began. The method actor and the relaxed director couldn't agree. Richard admits this was why he was eventually replaced, saying,
When after day one, when it became clear that myself and Val had developed seemingly irreconcilable differences, the production was then faced with a simple choice of either shutting the project down and replacing the lead man or replacing me. And as I don't think anyone was particularly interested in the script, the storyboard art, or the surrounding materials, it seemed like a no-brainer.
Rob Moreau was called in to replace Val, and he could immediately tell the film would be a flop. He asked his agent and begged to be released from filming. He got out after 3 days of filming, with Val put back on. The studio heads didn't want to put up with the cursed set anymore, especially not with its $40 million budget. In a desperate attempt to get it back on track, they threw out what Richard had shot and fired him over the fax machine. That may have been even worse than breaking up over text. John Frankenheimer came in as the new director. Like everyone else, he was worried the film might be cursed. It took plenty of convincing, including money and a 3-picture deal, to get the stern and experienced director on board. Marlon Brando's behind-the-scenes issues. Marlon's name was so massive by the time of Dr. Moreau that he attracted other stars. Val admits,
What appealed to me about the character was Marlon Brando. The reason I did the job, it was all kind of fun and a great challenge, thinking of the range of possibilities that Mr. Brando would bring to the character of Dr. Moreau and what he might create.
That didn't mean he made it easy for everyone. The entire crew was difficult to put up with on the island of Dr. Moreau's set, but Marlon Brando's behavior stood out as the worst. The star began to exhibit the diva behavior that characterized his later career. He was difficult for anyone involved in the project to deal with. One crew member went as far as to say,
I have to tell you, I've dealt with some very, very difficult actors in my life, but I have never, ever dealt with somebody like Marlon Brando.
To be fair, he had just experienced a major recent family tragedy. He got the worst news possible a few days before filming, and it shut down production for several days. Richard said,
When I lost Brando, after Cheyenne, Brando's daughter, committed suicide, Brando went AWOL, and I couldn't produce him. He wasn't available or even reachable by telephone.
This didn't excuse his poor behavior. The way he dealt with his grief made everything worse for the rest of the crew. Once he got back on set, he became a prima donna who made demand after demand on the already demanding and crumbling film set. He was known to wait in his air-conditioned trailer while the rest of the crew dealt with the unbearable weather. He wouldn't come out for hours when it was his time to shoot. Richard Stanley admits,
If there's one rule that I've learned throughout the entire process is nobody ever reads the script.
Marlon certainly didn't take the time to fully read the script or even learn his lines. They were read to him via an earpiece by his assistant. That may have been because Marlon wasn't happy with the script. He demanded several rewrites throughout the filming process. One of them made it to the final film and became one of its most infamous moments. As one of the crew members said, John did have to give in to a few of Marlon's demands, but not all of them. Nothing anyone did could save the flop. A weird performance for a weird film. Marlon didn't get a lot of screen time in The Island of Dr. Moreau. His few lines are memorable, but for the opposite reason that his performances in better films, such as The Godfather and A Streetcar Named Desire, are. The dedication and emotion he had in those films is gone. It's clear he didn't study his lines well. Marlon's performance feels like the worst improvisation session ever given. It didn't derail his career forever or sully his legacy. It does serve as one of the most bizarre entries in his filmography. The fallout. Not all movies make it out of production hell. Some have productions so troubled they have to lie in wait for years before ever being released to the public. For better or for worse, The Island of Dr. Moreau did end up in theaters. It was more than a confusing and lifeless film. It damaged the lives and careers of those who worked on it. Val's career went downhill. It was a major blow, but he wasn't the one affected the most. There are all kinds of allegations about how losing a role on his dream project affected Richard. They include everything from hiding out in the woods to sneaking back on set as an extra. The film's lack of success definitely took a toll on him. When it flopped, he left show business for 15 years. The documentary. Apocalypse Now is another Brando movie with a cursed production. It came in the form of 1991's Heart of Darkness, a filmmaker's apocalypse. Making The Island of Dr. Moreau was perhaps an even more turbulent process. That's why it also got a documentary to chronicle its doomed production. 2014's Lost Soul, the doomed journey of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Moreau, revealed all the secrets. It showed the troubled production and the aftermath of the film's release. Richard even enjoyed the documentary, but felt like there were plenty of details it left out. He said,
I enjoy Lost Soul, the David Gregory documentary, but I should note that virtually everyone in that documentary is lying just a little, in different odd ways. It really, people are dissembling in slightly odd ways the entire time, usually to protect their jobs. So they're telling a version of what happened, but it's always slightly stilted, which amuses me.
Now it's time to hear from you. What's the strangest film you've ever seen? Let us know in the comments section below.